Check out our website after the presentation. You can click around and you can really see everything that we have to offer. And we have lots of tutorials, resources, new events coming out. So please take a look around and check it out. This presentation is being recorded, so we will post this on our blog as well as on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you fill out that form at the bottom of the event page here, and that way you'll be the first to know when we release the tutorial. So also on our blog is we have a really nice complimentary blog. It's Authentic Visualizations in Lumion 7. So on this blog, it's really a great follow-up to the presentation I'm giving today. We have a lot of, around 2 hours of tutorials, and I'm going to go through each of those steps and really give you some demonstration models to work with and explore all these things that I'm talking about today on your own. So please do check out Authentic Visualizations in Lumion 7. It's a great follow-up resource for after this presentation. Now, also, Lumion 7 is out. It is available at lumion3d.com or lumion.com. And it's an excellent release. You can access all of the specs, all of the learning resources, lots of good information at lumion.com. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you Lumion 7. So this is an excellent new release. It's much more of a quality release than a, hey, look at all these new tools type of release. But to me, that's awesome. I don't need a bunch of new tools. Lumion already does everything exceptionally well, and now it just does it even better. So version 6.5 was kind of rebuilt on the new DirectX, and now all of the foundation that was laid is really paying off now with version 7. We start to see those that new DirectX showing up in the features in Lumion 7. So some of the new features are we have a brand new materials editor. And in the materials editor, it's got a new user interface. So basically, all of those those extra drop downs you had to click on to add different properties to your materials, that's no more. We have a tab system that really takes care of all of that. We also have some new categories of materials like aged materials and leaf materials. We have the ability to add foliage or leaves to any material, and you also have the ability to add weathering to any material. So it's not that we just have these new classes of materials of aged and leaf. You can also add those to your materials. So we have, along the lines of materials as well, we have improved transparencies. So we have another new category in curtains, and certainly you can add transparencies to your materials as well. We have subsurface scattering. That's a new feature in Lumion 7. Basically, waxiness is what we call it. You dial that up, and it gives the surface that kind of glow to it. Also, new light objects. These are really a big deal. The line light and the area light. Basically, the line light is the answer to those cove lighting problems of the past. A feature that we're not going to cover today, but is covered extensively in the Authentic Visualizations in Lumion 7 blog post I mentioned, is the context import. So that's the ability to put your model on the map, to import all of the context into Lumion as a very lightweight Lumion file, pulls in the OpenStreetMap's building height data, waterways, roads, land use, very slick new feature. We also have some file management improvements, and that would be the ability to render stills to MyLumion. That's really nice to just kind of batch render like 10 images, and it uploads them and then emails them to you. So it makes it a very easy way to share a project with the team or with your client. Also the ability to render animation directly to YouTube. So on top of all of that, as usual, we get a few new objects. This time around, we get 769 new models are added to the library. So that's a pretty nice take for that as well. Okay, so after today's presentation, I really want you to walk away knowing where these new features are. Pretty much you'll understand how to use them, but I really want you to take away the tips and tricks and the reasons like why these new features are meaningful to you as an architect, a designer, a visualizer. It's more than just cool stuff. It's really valuable to dial up your the overall quality of your renderings. So for this presentation, let's hop into SketchUp, and I want to show you around this model that we're going to work with. So this is our brand new Boulevard coffee shop model, and this was built using our Condoc system. It's a way of layering and organizing a model, and we've got a lot of information on that at condoc.com. condoctools.com. But in this model, if I click around and take a look at it, you can see we've got some 2.5D SketchUp trees. Those are those really lightweight trees that just kind of always face the camera. So they give the illusion of 3D without being like a really heavily modeled 3D tree. And then we have like our coffee bean. You can see that things are just kind of, if I sample that material, it's just a simple SketchUp material. Same thing with these trees here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about expedited vegetation. So we're going to first build a quick hedge. So I'll use my rectangle tool and pull this hedge up, and I'm just going to kind of scoot around and knock this thing out. All right, so then I'll make a copy of this surface over to the other side, and we'll go ahead and move that a little off those stairs and continue our push-pull like that. All right. And we'll push back like this. Okay, so here's our hedge. All right, so these new leaf materials in Lumion make building hedges so easy. So let me just throw a material on there, and then we're going to make it into a group. Okay, so the leaf materials that we're going to work with are going to be our 2.5D tree as well as our vegetation blur 01. So let me save that, and then I'm going to hop into Lumion. Okay, so now in Lumion, this is our start screen, and I'm going to start a new file. And again, with Lumion, it's absolutely fantastic that when I look up, the sky is blue, the clouds are out, the sun's out. When I look down, the grass is green. I can even go in here and turn on my 3D grass just to get that look. The ability to just have things start right away is a huge accomplishment from Lumion in general. But anyways, we're talking about new features here. This is old stuff. Let's go to our objects, and let's click on Import New Model. And I'm going to import from my desktop temp folder. I've got these Lumion 7 assets, and this is the model that I just saved. This is our Boulevard Coffee Shop presentation ready. I'll click on Open, and I'm going to import that model. It's a new SketchUp file that's importing into Lumion. Now, keep in mind that I use SketchUp. That's my 3D modeling tool of choice. But Lumion works perfectly with any 3D modeling software. Basically, what you're doing is, if you build it in Revit or 3ds Max or Rhino, there is a way to kick your model out very efficiently and then bring it into Lumion. So we're pulling in our SketchUp model, and as long as you can assign textures in your 3D modeling program, you're going to export it, and those textures are going to get swapped in Lumion. So we replace our SketchUp textures with Lumion textures. Let's do that, but I'm going to click to place that model. I'll tap Escape to kind of remove it from my place mode. All right, so here we go. We've got our new features in there, our new model in there, and then let me make sure that I place this model. Normally, I would place this at 050, but today we're going to use 016.4 just because our site is a little bit taller and got some more grade to it. So, okay, now the normal thing we do in Lumion, this is why I say that it's not so much that there's like a ton of new features in Lumion. It's just that it does everything better. So like, the same thing, like we click on a SketchUp material, it's called glass. I'll click on my Lumion glass material. I click on my grass, and then I click on my landscape. And just like that, my 3D grass is here. My windows have kind of a reflection and a transparency. And so just as easy, I click on my vegetation blur 01. That's the texture that I pulled out of SketchUp. I'm going to go to my nature tab and click on the leaves collection. Now check this out. All I do is click on one of these leaves, and I get my entire hedge brought in here just like that. So very slick. It's really easy to click around and choose different types. We can go to, let's just pick this first one. I'll double click on it, and check this out. You can control the spread, kind of make it a little more crazy looking, or the leaf size can go bigger. It seems to me I usually make them smaller. And you can even change the leaf type after the fact. We'll stick with this one here and maybe drop the spread down, and you've got that spread offset pattern, so you can kind of make sure that everything's getting kind of randomized. But we don't really want that much spread, just a little bit. Okay, so that looks good. Now, check this out. We've got our 2.5D tree. So see how that thing comes in as these faces? Well, the nice thing about this is that now we can click on this and go to our nature, leaves, and let's use like this more of a pine needles. And we'll double click on that one and then drag the spread down, and maybe those size goes down a little bit. So really what this does is it gives you the ability to build your own trees in SketchUp. You can make them very lightweight faces, and it just opens up a lot of possibilities for, we're not always going to get every tree that we need built, but you have the ability to kind of do it yourself now and, import that model into Lumion. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to hop over into SketchUp, and I want to do two updates here. I want to, number one, I'm going to bring in a Rhino because I want to show you on this file import. We're going to go to our Lumion 7 assets, and I'm going to bring in a SketchUp model of a Rhino. I pulled this right off the 3D warehouse. Now, where we work, our office, and where we live in Denver, it's called the River North District. Rhino is kind of the acronym for it, and basically they have these rhinos everywhere. It's like the arts district. So anyway, what I'm going to do is just paint that with our vegetation texture. All right, and then the other thing I'm going to do is go over here and we're going to download from the 3D warehouse a really cool product called Green Screen. We were right next to these guys at the ASLA conference, and they've got a really cool product, and it's just great for demonstrating how easy it is to build these models. So let's see if we can get the 3D warehouse to ping on that search. It's running just a little slow. And we'll go to the second page of results, and we're going to import that green screen, and then we'll refresh our model in Lumion. Give me just a moment here. All right. Okay, so on our second page, let's get there. We're almost there. Okay, so on our second page of results, we've got these really lightweight, low poly green screen. So green screen, what it does is it like attaches to your building, and it allows ivy to kind of grow in a way that I assume doesn't damage your building and maybe gives you a little bit more control of the look. So I'll just scoot this green screen straight down like that, and then I'm going to move this over here, and we'll position this straight back on that wall. And let's see, where are we going here? Just down a little bit, and maybe I want to center this thing on our post, so I'll snap to my midpoint there. All right, and then I'm just going to snap to my midpoint, make a copy, and we'll snap to this midpoint here. All right, so we've got our two green screens on here, and we've also got our new Rhino that's painted with that texture. And the reason I want to do this, I'm going to save this, and we're going to go into Lumion, and we're going to reload this model. All right, so all I need to do is click on a texture that I've assigned, and then click on the wrench and choose Reload Model. Now, when I click Reload, what's important to note here is that the textures have already been applied in SketchUp and swapped in Lumion. So whenever I paint something in SketchUp with that same texture, it's going to come into Lumion and already work. So that's a pretty nice feature. We'll have to actually assign a leaf material to our green screen to make that one look right. But you'll see that what I'm demonstrating here is that this rhino is going to pop in and turn into a big bush, which is pretty cool because that allows you to really create sculptural landscape elements. You can design anything you want now. So look at that. I mean, it's so slick and easy the way that works. And then again, you can always go back in here and adjust, like, if we knock down the spread, if we want that to be a little bit more clear, the leaf size will make the shape show up better, but I think it's pretty cool with a little bit of randomness. And then, same deal, I go back here, the green screen already came with a texture. So I'll go to Nature, Leaves, and we'll just pick this guy here and double click, drop down the spread and the leaf size. So just like that, we're good to go. All right, so that is our expedited vegetation. Let me take a look at my notes here. The next thing we want to take a look at is our authentic materials. So really, a big new feature here is the ability to add the category of aged materials, and also the ability to add weathering to any material that you have. So what I want to do here is I'll check on OK, and we're going to keep working with this project all the way through. So in SketchUp, here's our coffee bean. I think I already called this one out. It's metal rusted 1. We'll replace that with an aged material. And then our brick, we've called that one weathered brick because it's different than this brick in here. So this is not weathered. And then I want to show you how we can assign a texture. So we've got another tutorial coming out where I'll show you how to do what I'm about to how to make this graffiti wall. So I'm going to go to all supported image types, and I'm going to import this texture. So I'll click, let me go File and choose Import, import our texture like this, and I'll click and drag there, and then I'll sample this and paint it on that wall. All right, so this texture here, I actually went out and took pictures of this graffiti. And so it's actually like 3 separate paintings that were on garage doors. And then this other one was like on an entire building. I actually covered up the windows with these other pieces of graffiti and then threw that brick overlay on top of it. But we've got another tutorial coming out on how to put together some of this other stuff. But I think what's important for right now is that we understand that I applied a very simple material in SketchUp. I go to File and choose Save, and then we are going to do another reload in Lumion. So let's go back into Lumion here, and I'll just click on Reload My Model, and then that's going to bring in that texture. So what we're going to do next, though, is we're going to add an aged metal to the coffee bean. We're going to add another bit of weathering. When I say age, I'm talking about weathering as well. But the weathering to the brick and to the wood and also to our graffiti wall. And you'll really start to see that this new weathering effect, it's not just like a flat static overlay. It's like responding to the relief. When I give that brick a relief, the weathering, it has like dirt that builds up on it. It's responsive to the 3D model, which I think is pretty sweet. It's not just like a Photoshop filter that's overlaid. It's actually working like in 3D. So let's go in here and take a look. So we're going to first check out our coffee bean. And if I click on that guy here, click on the coffee bean and then go to our nature and choose aged. So we've got like aged bronze 2, aged aluminum. So all of your aged materials, these are all really nice presets. I can click on here, and I can even double click and get in here and start messing with, like, I sometimes mess with the colorization a little bit, like make it a little bit darker, something like that. You can see the tone of it. If I go down here, this is what I was talking about with our new material editor. All of these sub-tabs, we used to have to click on these arrows to kind of add these extra properties. Well, we don't have to do that anymore. Everything's on these sub-tabs, so it's pretty nice, like weathering. So we can dial up the weathering or dial it down. So like right now, you can see that material, it's kind of like, it looks pretty good. It's a little bit dinged up, I suppose. That's kind of how it's supposed to be. And then if we just slowly bring up our weathering, the first piece is like an overlay, and then we get that kind of greenness coming on. And as I keep going, that patina, and then look at this, it starts like growing this stuff on it that responds to the 3D. So that's pretty nasty there, but we don't need to go that far. Maybe I would even back this one off just a touch more like that. I think that looks pretty cool. So that'll be our coffee bean. What else are we going to do? Let's go in and look at some other metals here. Like, this is a really good example of a model I pulled from the 3D warehouse. And it doesn't look that great, to be honest. It's got really simple materials. The form is good, though. I think I would applaud them that they built the model with a good form. But look at what I do in Lumion. I click on this really simple color 007, go to nature under aged, and which one is this? Our color 007, nature, aged. We'll go with like aged iron. And then I'm going to double click on that, and we're going to dial up our colorization, dial down our gloss and reflectivity, make this thing just a little bit darker and a little bit less weathered. So that looks pretty cool. Maybe even mess with our scale, possibly. I might consider that. All right, now up here we're going to do like our nature, aged, and let's use aged gold. So that's pretty cool. Again, I can double click, dial up our weathering effects. And you also have, all these different presets too, so you can choose like different types of weathering Even though it suggests wood or rock, you can still play with those and get different looks. So maybe I'll hit this one with nature aged. We'll do aged bronze too. That's pretty cool. All right, so just like that, I mean, this super simple object pulled from the 3D warehouse has a ton more depth applied to it. Now, we want to take a look at assigning weathering to any material. So let's look at our graffiti wall here. So like if I just kind of scoot up to it and click on that material, to make your material, that imported Lumion material, we're going to go to standard. So we make it a standard material, which we don't want any gloss, we don't want any reflectivity. And we're then going to dial up, we do need to make a normal map. This is a new feature, I think a release or two ago. When I say create normal map, it actually like builds a bump map for me. And then I can adjust the relief of it. So you can kind of see that that brick is getting deeper and shallower, deeper, shallower. So we'll add just a little bit of relief, and then let's start dialing up our weathering. So see how that weathering effect starts to kick in, and it's actually responding to the relief of that wall, like that. So for this particular wall, I think that really actually when you're working with the weathering effect, it's best to kind of tinker with your relief and your weathering slider and see if maybe you want a little less relief, a little less weathering, more weathering. And then also on this brick wall, I found that this last one, this blue preset, was a little bit better for this application. So maybe I'll dial the relief down, and you can see that this one just kind of gives you that like efflorescent staining, kind of like maybe a little bit of water has come down that wall. It just makes it look a little bit older and more authentic. So gives it a bit of depth. I think that's pretty cool there. And then again, you could kind of tinker with your relief. Good tip on anything in Lumion is don't be afraid to just jack these dials around. Slide it up, slide it down, see what it does, and experiment with it. That's how I always pick up and learn this program. So I think that looks pretty good. Let's take a look outside now. We're going to go to our bench and dial up this wood. So we'll go here, click on that. We'll go to a standard material. We can create a normal map for that as well. This normal map is not going to be anywhere near as apparent as the brick wall, but that's okay. Our relief is there, and then our weathering is there, and you can see how that weathering builds itself up. For this one, we will use the wood preset, and you can see that as that wood ages, it just gets a little bit grayer, and then it gets kind of some mold on it. So I think right about there looks good. And also look at the foreground here, like how it's kind of notching the edges of it. That looks really good from a distance. So, these 2x4 benches, they'll look way more authentic rather than having that like perfect pristine pattern assigned to them. All right, now check this out. This is the last thing I want to do with these materials. Oh, I'm sorry, no, we're going to do transparencies next. On this one, this is our weathered brick. So this is just a simple tiled brick pattern in SketchUp. All right, so we're going to go to our standard material. I don't want any gloss or reflectivity on this. And what I do want is maybe I want to add a normal map. And again, you can kind of see like when I play with the relief, you can see that normal map is positioned properly because I'm getting the shadows on the bottom of the brick. If I click it like that, it kind of makes the brick flip in. So this is where we want it with our relief, and then we'll dial up our weathering like this. And this one, you can see it just kind of gets a little bit of gray on the top of the bricks. We probably don't need to take it so far into, we could dial off our relief a touch maybe. So it really seems like balancing between relief and weathering is kind of like the game that I like to play here. So that looks good. I think that's perfect. Now, the last thing we want to do to this wall is go to our foliage and dial up the spread. And for this one, a good tip, because I placed my model up high, my ground level is just a little off. So that's what allows you to kind of get this thing to work a little bit clearer. Let's see, our spread goes up like that. Perfect. All right, so remember, if you hold shift, you can slow things down and make much grander gestures. So for this one, I want to dial my leaf size down. I I want my leaf type to be, that one's kind of cool. We'll stick with like, not the pine, not our pine needles, but leaf type. We'll go with, yeah, this one looks pretty good. Okay, cool. So you can continue to tinker around with that, you know. Remember, holding shift is what makes it a lot easier to kind of dial in that look that you want. All right, so that looks pretty good. That's all of our vegetation is really drastically improved in Lumion 7. And let's take a look now at our transparencies. So here's our interior scene. I'll go with, first let's do our curtains here. So in order to do that though, I want some sunlight coming through. So I'll go to my weather tab, and let's see, I can see the sun's hitting the couch. And notice that like the sun is going through those curtains, and those curtains are opaque. So that's not really how we want it to look though. I mean, some curtains are opaque, but these particular curtains, we really want them to like have that realistic look of like a sheer curtain. So I'll go back to my materials. I can click here, and I click on that material. Now it's certainly possible to go to standard and just dial down our reflectivity and gloss, and go to our transparency settings and turn on our transparency. And now you can see that, you know, we're getting a little more transparency, but look at how the light actually hits the curtain and makes that curtain glow. That is really killer. I mean, that's a really slick new look. It's not going to make or break a rendering, but it makes them way more authentic and real. The other thing we can do is go back to our material library, go to our indoor tab, and click on curtains. Now here you've got all of these preloaded curtains. So you can choose from any of these guys too, and just like any material in Lumion, you can double click on it, and then you can go ahead and make it yours. You can dial the transparency up or down, really get the look that you're going for. All right, so the next thing is subsurface scattering. So here's some candles that I created. You know, you could always take this candle. This is what I do, is I take like a candle flame, make it a standard material, and then under settings we can just make it emissive like that. And maybe even, I don't know if the colorization, yeah, that'll give us a little bit of an orange tint to it. So that looks good. All right, so our candles are glowing, maybe even a little more emissive, that's cool. All right, I'll click on my wax material, and for the wax material, I'm just gonna make it a standard material. I wanna dial down my gloss and reflectivity, and then I wanna go to colorization. Let's just make this like kind of an off-white. And then watch what happens when I go to my transparency. We want to dial up the waxiness. When light hits that candle, see how it kind of like makes the surface glow? That is subsurface scattering. So it's not opaque, it's got kind of like this waxy gel-like surface to it that lets light kind of scatter on the surface, I suppose, or below the surface. But anyway, again, not gonna make or break a rendering. I don't know if anybody goes, wow, your candles are so real. But it's great when it's just so easy to make a better image, and that's really what Lumion 7 has stepped up on here. So we'll say okay there. And so now we got our candles glowing and flickering as we move. Pretty cool. Good stuff. All right, so now I'm going to load a preset. So we're just going to click on this, and I'm going to go to this wrench here. Now, this is a really good tip, is that if you have a material library that you use the same materials over and over, or if you can at least just try to be disciplined with your materials, and every time you add a material into into SketchUp or your modeling program, or every time it comes into Lumion, add it to a library. That way you can go ahead and just load a material set. I click on that wrench, click on material set, and then choose load. And so here's in our Lumion 7 assets, we've got our Boulevard Coffee Shop. I'll load those materials. It's going to import all of these Lumion material settings that are looking for a specific material name. So as long as I don't rename my materials, this material set is going to work over and over again. So it just comes in, applies all of those Lumion settings to the SketchUp materials, and just like that, this thing is taken care of. So if you are, if you have favorite materials, or even if you just use even if it's just glass, grass, water, concrete, asphalt, even if you just do like the things that you work on every single time, I think that would be a huge time saver. So try to experiment with using that material set feature. I'll say OK there. OK, so everything's kind of working out so far. Maybe I'll just dial down my reflectivity on this floor just a touch like that. There we go. We got our rhino prints coming through. Rhinos on the ceiling. Rhinos everywhere. Let's see. OK, so the next thing I want to talk about is our new lighting objects, our new light objects. So what we'll do here is we have a beautiful painting by a friend of mine, Dennis Wright. He was kind enough to let us take his images and use in our models, so we'll have those out on a blog post for you to grab too. It's nice to have real artwork to put in a scene. All right, so we'll go to our objects and go to our lights, and we need to be on place mode, lights and special objects, and let's look at our library. So in our library we have a new category called area lights. I think this is new. The symbol's new to me. Area light here. An area light is it's more for used more to force light into a room. Me personally, I like to just if I have a if I'm going to light a scene, I put a spotlight on every spotlight. I put I actually light the scene the way it's supposed to be, and then I let the sun come in and use that global illumination. So me personally, I don't use area lights a ton, but I could see how it would be if you wanted to force light in through a window. That's one way to do it. Or if you wanted, like maybe in this particular model, if I need the ceiling to just be lit, like I just want it lit up, you could do that. But really the line light is what I'm most stoked about. This one, we kind of just place it on here. I can go to my rotate under move mode, and we can kind of rotate this thing around like that. So I'll set it to 90, and then we're going to rotate it so it's looking at the wall like that. Let's see, like that. And then I do know, these are a little bit tricky to place. Let me just adjust my length and my width. So what I'm going to do for today is click on my move mode. If I go back to my move tool, I'm going to deselect everything, and this guy needs to be at, X needs to be at 33.4. I just wrote that down because that way it gives me that proper look. Now, I got to tell you that I have a hard time, like I wanted that area light to be placed behind that painting. I did a really solid tutorial on area lights, on line lights and how to place them very accurately with a node placement. So basically in SketchUp, I'm able to place my lights, and then I can use Lumion to do node placement. That is on that other authentic visualizations in Lumion 7 blog. So definitely check out the tutorials I put together on that. It gives you a really easy way to place all these things. But yeah, so you can go to your properties, you can adjust your brightness, the color of that area light, the width we talked about, fall off, like where does that light stop. So we've got all of those different settings here, but what we're going to do now is we're going to merge our objects because I've already built all of these objects in here. So we'll just merge our Boulevard Coffee Shop objects, and we're going to overwrite and then add, and we'll say OK. So that should bring in all of our objects in the proper place, and then I think we're going to move into creating some renderings. So just a moment on that, and we're good. Yeah, that's all good. We're just kind of like sunk in there. Okay, so we've got all of our scene is built. We've got all our people standing around drinking coffee, people walking in and out, looking pretty good. So now what we're going to do is hop over into the photo studio. So in the photo studio, that's where we can take a snapshot. We're going to use an effect stack. So I want to show you that technique here. Let's go into our photo mode here, our photo studio. To take a snapshot, we're just going to simply click on a camera. I want to first set up my view. So like, let's do one, kind of out here, maybe just catching the hedge like this. And maybe we should get our rhino in there too. That'd be kind of fun. All right, something like that. That's pretty cool. We'll take a snapshot there. And then maybe I'll scoot over and grab another one like that. This is maybe a little more architectural rendering appropriate, like that. And snapshot there. Okay. Now, in Lumion, when you want to add effects, like if I want to add like depth of field, I can go to my camera, depth of field. You can click on the edit, the autofocus, and let's say we want to focus right on the front door and say OK. So now our autofocus is on, and the amount of depth of field that we're getting, we dial that up, and you choose, do you want to blur the foreground or do you want to blur the background? So foreground, background, or in the middle. So that's the way we set that up, and so that's how you set up all of your effects. But I can tell you that the best way to go about using Lumion is to first develop, play around, add a bunch of effects, get the right look that you want. Go through and add all these different, selective saturation, put your company's logo on it, color correction, throw some noise on there. There's all kinds of effects that you can add. So get all of those set up, and then what you do is you go to the wrench and choose File, Save, and you save that effect stack out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load an effect stack. So I'm going to load, I've started calling these, it's not photoreal, I've called it a photoreal dream. So we're going to go with exterior daytime. So this is a photoreal dream exterior day, and these are animation. So we'll go with this guy, and it's going to drop all these effects in there just like that. So now all I have to do is kind of sort through this thing and maybe adjust my sun heading like that, and tweak, reflection planes, or, it's not that you don't go back in and tweak some things, but it's a jump start. You can get to a place where you've got a really good clean start here. So that's cool. And then on this one, maybe I'll go to File, choose Load, and let's see, we've got this is interior, we'll do exterior dusk, see what that one looks like. That's pretty cool. Just like that. All right. Perfect. So we're going to share all of these effect stacks with you too. So I highly recommend, walk through this presentation with me when it's recorded. That's a good way to do it. And just tinker around. It's not too hard to figure out once you get in there and press a few buttons. Let's also go inside. I'm going to go to my next camera. That way it moves a little bit faster, so I don't have all my effects turned on. And let's see, in here, we'll just kind of position ourselves like this. And I'm going to take a snapshot here. And then I'm going to go to our load. And we're going to load our photoreal dream interior day like that. And so we get all of our effect stacks on. Okay, perfect. So we've got like 3 stills ready to rock and roll here. So here's our new rendering setting. We can click on Upload. And what this is going to do is, see right now it's only uploading photo 3. So let me cancel that. Let's turn our batch render on, or our save photo set. So you can see over here we've got this save photo set on. I'm going to turn that on, and then I'm going to click on Upload. And that way it's going to give me all 3 of these images. So we can say like entry, and then we can say entry at dusk. And then we'll say sitting area. Cool. So we've got our title. I've got my email in there. You could give it a description, and I'll click on Start. And let's just see like how fast this thing actually renders. So giving 16 passes, I mean, the render speed of Lumion never fails to amaze me. We've got 1 rendering done, 2 to go. I mean, the ability to actually like get stuff done, get a final product out the door like right now, that was unheard of before Lumion, for me at least. So with the new quality improvements, it happens fast and it looks great. So that finished. So we rendered our 3 images. It will email me, so I could very easily, forward that on, or I can click on View. Looks like we've got an error. No big deal. So we would click here to view our photos online. Looks like my Wi-Fi is down. No internet. Disconnect. Connect. Just in case I'm going to need this in the future, we'll try and connect to that again. Okay. That's all right. So no big deal. We are getting... okay, no problem. We'll exit that. But anyway, so what it does, it emails you that that final link, you click on it, there's your images. It's very easy to forward on to a client or your team. Very easy way to share. Okay, so let's see. The next step that we're going to go through is we're going to move into our movie studio. So in the movie studio here, we've got, click on that, and let's set up an interior animation. So I'll take a photo. One tip on animation, maybe a few tips. First off, slower is better. Lumion renders extremely quickly, so you have the ability to like waste some frames. So what I do is I would say start by like, see how I went from this frame to this frame? That's how I start a lot of my animations, and that way it kind of gives like a slower pause to get started. And then maybe I'll just throw another one. I'm holding the space bar. That really slows down for me. I can take a snapshot there and maybe scoot forward. So we'll do that and hit play. And so now see how it kind of pauses as it rolls, and that way you get like a subtle sense of movement, but you're not just going right into that. So it gives you a chance to kind of pause on that frame and see it. So even on that last frame, I think I would do it on the way out as well, is I would just maybe tweak just a little bit further so you kind of stop and pause. And so now when I hit play, it kind of gives me the opening scene, gets me to where I'm going to be, and then pauses for a moment. So it's not so abrupt from each shot to shot. You know, that way we kind of hang there, get a little sense of 3D before it cuts to the next one. So I think that's a good tip for animation. We'll say okay there. Now, remember, with animation, you can either add effects to a clip or to the timeline. So if I want to assign something to the entire timeline, I can do that. This is going to basically apply to every single clip. A good example of that is, well, first off, anything you want to be applied to your entire movie. I think the best example of that is like an overlay image. If you have like a company logo, throw that on there. Yeah, that's most everything I do on a per clip basis, but that would be a good one. Or you could justify some of these others, but really I tend to use per clip. So here's my clip. I selected my clip, and now these are the effects applied to that clip. Same deal. File, load, and we're going to load up our BD animation, Photo Real Dream Interior Day. So I'll choose open. There we go. Now when I click play, I've got all of my effects turned on, a little bit of noise added to it, and there's my scene. So let's add another one just for good measure. I'll go set up another one. We're going to record outside this time. So for this one, maybe I'll do something like, go from our coffee shop logos like this, take a snapshot. Again, I might just kind of back up a little bit, take another snapshot, and then do my full shot like this. Maybe get to this point, snapshot, move back or something, just a little bit, snapshot, and then let's look at that one. So this way we get just a subtle camera movement, and then it ramps up and takes me to that final point, and then pauses for a moment so I can kind of take in that view. All right, so remember, animation, slower is better. Again, we'll go to File and choose Load Effects, and on here we've got our Photo Real Dream, our animation, Photo Real Dream Exterior Day. So that way we've got, I got kind of a funky like dark sky set up for this day. I might even call that more of a dust shot, but technically the sun is out in this scene. So anyways, but that's the point of, that's why I named it Photo Real Dream. It's not totally real. Kind of like a lot of bloom effects and a little bit of vignette and noise. So I think that just kind of softens that photo real effect. All right, so that one looks good. Now let's talk about another new rendering capability. If I click on Save Movie, we can render this now straight to YouTube. So that's a pretty slick new feature that if you're letting this thing cook overnight and you just need it to be rendered, uploaded, shared, I mean, it's just kind of a nice way to cut out the middlemen on that. So we won't do that now because we don't need to render out this full thing, but let's take a look at what we've created. So in here, I've got my demo reel. So I'm honestly, I mean, going through this is the first animation. We rendered this one last night. You can see we've got all of our new ivy. It slightly like flutters in the breeze. Here's our stills. You can see kind of some of that grunginess happening on the 2x4s. Ivy crawling up the walls. Here's our graffiti wall with that like efflorescent staining kind of coming down the wall. It's just really everything, even like the ductwork, has a little bit of weathering to it. So I couldn't be more happy about the new aging effects. When I first heard about it, I wasn't sure, but after using it, I just am astounded at the extra level and of authenticity and the extra depth that really provides. So pretty cool. I'm really stoked about Lumion 7. So what we're going to do, let's see. So just to kind of wrap things up here and clarify, this presentation, it will be recorded and shared on our YouTube channel and on our Brightman Designs blog. So please do be sure to check out brightmandesigns.com and then just click on that blog. You can go there and see our blog and check out everything that we have to offer. Sign up for the newsletter. You will be the first to know. That newsletter form is at the bottom of the event page. And please don't forget that we do have a really solid set of tutorials to really like walk you through these steps, and we share these models with you. So please do check out Authentic Visualizations in Lumion 7 and take a look at our tutorials. You can always contact us at brightmandesigns.com. If you need help with a 3D model, we can certainly help you and coach you on that. If you need a 3D model built, we certainly do that too. Lumion.com is where you can learn all about Lumion 7, follow up on all the specs, make sure that your computer will run this just fine, even grab a trial. You can renew your license, buy a new license. Everything you need to get on board with Lumion is available at Lumion.com. So, thanks so much for watching today. We really do appreciate you guys coming in and being a part of it. And certainly if you enjoyed the presentation and thought it was good, the biggest thank you for us is, not only maybe a thank you note, that's great, but sharing with friends and colleagues and letting other people know that this was good content is very much appreciated. So thank you so much for being here today, and we'll see you in the next presentation. And I think at this point, I'm going to move over to our chat panel and see if there's any questions on there that I can kind of field right now. So let's see. All right, so let's see. I don't know that. I think what we'll do is we'll call it over there. So I don't see a ton of questions coming in on that chat panel. So thank you guys very much for coming in, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.